Welcome to the City Council meeting for the Monday, March 25th, 2013. I'd like to call the meeting to order, and I would like to ask Troop 140 to come up front and lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. If you'd come up here, please. If you want to step over here and say your name and then go over to the front, one of the microphones so we can get you on TV. Give us your name. Go ahead. Yep.
Oh, Zach Redorn.
Okay, walk up there. Next.
Joe Francel.
Okay,
Nicholas Holter.
okay.
Eric Kolb.
Grady Holmes.
Noah Zins.
All right, if you would turn and face the flag and then lead us in the pledge, please. Who's going to start it?
I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, guys. Madam Clerk, the roll, please.
Mayor Burchill.
Here.
District 1 Morstead.
Here.
District 2 Yakub.
Here.
District 3 Bernard.
Here.
District 4 Tewinkle.
Here.
District 5 Haggett.
Here.
District 6 Spanslow.
Here. EMT Awards. Chief Kim. Well, you can come up front here, or you want to, I think you can come up front.
I think we should put him on camera.
Works over there too.
So since I've been at St. Croix EMS, I've never had the honor to do this, obviously, so this is actually kind of a big deal for me, and I think should be a big deal for these guys as well. Since St. Croix EMS started, we've had a lot of dedicated staff and a lot of people that have helped out in the changing of the times, moving us from a basic service to an intermediate service and finally to a paramedic service, and these guys have actually been here for all of the changes actually, and Glenn has actually been our chief here for a little bit too during the intermediate time. So it's my honor tonight to present these guys with some length of service awards because they've been here longer than I've been alive. Sorry guys. First one goes to Ben Wasman. He's been here for 20 years, St. Croix EMS. Mr. Glenn Hartman, 25 years of dedicated service.
Congratulations, guys.
Thank you. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Ben, congratulations. Chief.
Thank you.
We have one other issue we're going to have before we ask for public comments. Arts in the Community Awards. Arts Wisconsin statewide arts and service advocacy and developmental organization presents the annual Arts in the Community Awards. These are awards presented by the Arts Council, Arts Wisconsin, in partnership with the League of the Wisconsin Municipalities, honor local officials and civic leaders around the state who have championed the arts as an integral part to economic, educational, and community vitality and demonstrated exemplary advocacy, support, and volunteerism and philanthropy on behalf of the arts on the local level. Award winners are selected by a panel of civic leaders from a highly competitive statewide pool of nominees. Anastasia Sharton, Visual Arts Director at the Phipps Center for the Arts in Hudson, Wisconsin. In the past 10 years, the Phipps and Anastasia's leadership has utilized regional visual artists, community organization, environmental groups, university, and local officials to help clarify and address the accelerated changes that have materialized in the St. Croix Valley area. She and the Phipps Center have played a critical role in developing and advancing What We Need Here Is, the title of a poem by Wendell Berry, a program that rallies issues and actions for organizations that addresses issues significant to the St. Croix Valley, such as watershed, land use, and changing rural landscape, developing social capital, and building a community through the arts. Anastasia, would you like to come up and say a few words? Sure. Okay. Pass it around. All right.
It is glass.
Don't drop it, huh?
Randy's gonna break it.
Congratulations, by the way.
Thank you, and thank you very much for allowing me to speak and come and present this, share this with all of you. I really wanted to share it with you because it is given in my name, although it represents so many collaborations and partnerships, including work with the city. I want to also thank Barb Bend, who's sitting here in the purple coat, because she's a local artist. She's somebody whose creativity, intelligence, and passion I greatly admire, and she nominated me for this award. So that in itself, I didn't even have to receive the award. I was already so humbled and honored to have been called out by her. So the award itself is really beautiful. It was created by a glass artist from Blue Mounds, Wisconsin. And although it's in my name and the Phipps, it really, as I said, represents many collaborations and partnerships involving dozens of individuals, artists and others, and organizations from Hudson and from surrounding communities in the lower St. Croix River Valley. When I was given this award, Ann Katz, who's the director of Arts Wisconsin, specifically celebrated in this meeting where she showed a bunch of slides and talked about the recipients for the award. She specifically celebrated the Artful Rain Garden project and noted the collaborative work that this involved with the city of Hudson, and particularly with Tom Zulli of the Parks and Public Works Department. Tom worked closely with Buck Malick, who's also sitting here, on the demonstration garden at 7th and St. Croix Streets, which was installed in the summer of 2011. The Artful Rain Garden project was the brainchild of two area artists, Carla Faith and Sheila Bergman, who's also here. So I have my little posse here in the front row supporting me, as really symbolic of just how much support and collaboration the work that this award celebrates is about. And Carla and Sheila and Barb also were participants in an ongoing series of seminars for artists that I've organized since 2009 on the role of art and sustainability. And so it was out of those conversations that this idea of creating artful rain gardens, of making something functional and beautiful to enhance the community and to involve community members really came about. So to date, through this project, we've not only created the garden at 7th and St. Croix, but also provided seed grants to 5 of Hudson's schools. And they installed rain gardens on the school grounds in 2012. And this involved planning and design work and also hands-on planting with hundreds of students from Hudson. We want to continue the work on the Artful Rain Garden project, and the Seed Committee really has decided to focus its work here in Hudson. We have received funding already from Hudson Daybreak Rotary, from Sustain Hudson, and Excel Energy to continue this work into the future. And I really look forward to continuing to work with the city on that. Over the next year and a half, I also look forward to working with the city on a valley-wide project to establish an art bench trail. This trail will include the River Bench, which hopefully you all are familiar with. It's the unique work of art created in 2006 by over 60 Hudson residents and members of Destination Imagination under the leadership of the late Hudson artist Lynn Jamal. The bench is in Lakefront Park, right near the playground there. It's a mosaic and concrete sculpture, and it's one of 7 unique benches throughout the lower St. Croix Valley. And so the Phipps received a multi-year grant from the Kresge Foundation to establish an art bench trail that will bring visitors from outside the valley, but also within the valley, through the valley to our communities. So it's sort of a tourism effort to bring people through the valley and to have them go through bench by bench and not only explore the benches, but also take advantage of all that the communities have to offer. So that's something that will launch in the spring of 2014. And really, the success of this art bench trail really depends upon the involvement of community leaders like you. So I will most definitely be talking to you about that as things develop. As I said, I really hope to have the opportunity to work with the city on other projects, the Artful Rain Garden project, the Art Bench Trail, and others, which will bring art into the everyday lives of Hudson's residents and visitors. I invite the city to look to me to partner on projects you have underway that you think would benefit from an artful involvement. Thank you very much again for having me here, and thank you for helping me to celebrate this with me and my friends.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
and-
Thanks.
Very cool. We didn't break.
This time, we entertain comments and suggestions from the audience on any items that are not on the agenda. Is there anyone here that would like to address the council? One more time, is there anyone here that would like to speak to the council? If not, consent agenda items, Madam Clerk.
To approve the regular meeting minutes of March 11th, 2013. To approve claims for payment in the amount of $387,485.70. A detailed description is available in the clerk's office on request and is posted on the city's website. To approve the issuance of 4 regular operator licenses for the period March 26, 2013 to June 30th, 2014. And to approve the issuance of 1 temporary operator's license to be used April 27th, 2013 at the Turning Point Pottery for Prevention event at the Phipps Center for the Arts. To approve the issuance of 2 taxicab drivers' licenses through June 30th, 2013. Additional license application information is available in the clerk's office on request. To approve and place on file the 2013 schedule of city fees for various licenses, permits, and service rates as submitted. To approve 7 walk, run, race events as presented. Additional information is available in the clerk's office on request. To approve barricading Locust Street between 2nd Street and 3rd Street on 2nd Fridays of May to September from 5:30 p.m. to 9:30 p.m. for monthly car shows. To accept the donation of a picnic shelter from the former Tourist Information Center and place it on a concrete slab in Prospect Park near the top of the trail where a structure was previously located. To approve the continuation of the conditional use permit for Grammar Incorporated at 2700 Harvey Street for the storage of up to 1,320 gallons of flammable or combustible liquids as identified in their application and as amended per their letter of July 15th, 2004, and as recommended by the Plan Commission in November of 2012. To approve the continuation of the conditional use permit for Briggs Auto Service, Matt Briggs, at 1300 Gateway Circle, with the condition that tires and junked vehicles need to be kept within the fenced area as recommended by the Plan Commission in November of 2012. To place on file the quarterly reports of the Library Director, Wastewater Director, and St. Croix EMS Chief, the monthly report of the Finance Director, and the March 12, 2013 minutes of the Public Utility Commission, and the March 20th, 2013 minutes of the St. Croix EMS Commission. That is all.
It's about the longest consent agenda we've had for a long time. Is there a motion to approve?
Move to approve.
Second.
Roll call?
T-Winkle?
Yes.
Bernard?
Yes.
Morset?
Yes.
Yakub?
Yes.
Haggett?
Yes.
Vanslo?
Yes.
Okay. First item on the agenda is the review remaining funds and consider amending the 2013 room tax budget. What we had here was we showed the balance at finance. Randy was talking about a motion for a increased $5,000 for the booster fireworks display. And we've amended it to request the other municipalities, if they're interested in funding some of the dollars. We talked about the trash containers on 1st Street, or 2nd Street, and 1st Street, I guess, in the park. So, any comments, questions? Just for your information, what's here. I don't know if we need a motion for the request for the letter. I don't think we do. It came out of finance.
Yeah, it was, the recommendation was to
Yeah.
wait 2 weeks, or wait until we heard back from the municipalities.
Okay? That's okay, we'll just move on. Unless anybody wants anything else? Don't want to, okay. Item 5 is to review bids and award contract for fire suppression alarm system project for public safety. Chief Fry.
This project's been long in the works, but we're finally to the point where we were able to advertise for bids in January. We received 5 bids back, with the low bidder being Viking Automatic Sprinkler Company out of St. Paul. and it did have some issues. They had several things in their proposal that I feel comfortable with now after visiting with them. The exemptions is what I'm trying to think of. I feel comfortable now after visiting with them that the exemptions were outside of the specifications, and I would recommend that we approve the low bid of Viking automatic sprinkler system for $33,700, and also include the contingency fund with that. I believe finance had made a recommendation of $6,300.
No.
37,
No, 63.
It was 63.
Passed
Passed
3 to 1.
6,300 additional, yes.
Correct.
So 40,000 total.
Yes.
Oh, I see.
No, it was not. So, any comments, or is there a motion to approve, and then we can talk about it?
I move to approve.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, any comments or discussion?
Main reason I voted against it was just that Chief Fry asked for 10% and contingency funds, and quite a bit more than that was provided, and I think it's good to keep it in line with, I mean, I guess the question I have is, if it comes in 500 over, you saying you have to go back to the fire board and it has to go to full council?
No, I'd have to come back to the council. If it goes over if we don't leave a contingency, if it goes over this bid price, I'll have to come back.
My only reason is we typically accept bids or quotes, and that's the price. We don't then pad the quote with an additional 20%. So I'd feel more comfortable going with the 10% that he asked for.
Okay.
Not against the project.
Did you explain in finance why we gave a contingency? I missed part of the discussion.
At finance? Yeah, I did. The contingencies for, if for some reason needs to be an extra sprinkler head put someplace that was missed in the plans and specs, the attorney will have to review the contract for this project. That'll come out of there. The connection between the alarm and the cable, whatever they use, phone or cable or whatever, that connection is not included in there. If there's a conduit or a pipe or something in the way where they have to go through, and that conduit or pipe has to get moved, that's kind of what I'm thinking of.
I'm just along the same lines as Lori, I'm just a bit perplexed, I guess. I mean, that's what a public bid job is you take the plans and the specs that you're given and you bid it. And, I mean, just looking at the list, one of them that pops out, centering of sprinklers in tile. I mean, I don't know if that's because we would want it centered, so it would cost us extra. I mean, I guess I don't really understand what that is even, but.
And he did explain that. I'll see if I can find that.
While Chief Fry looks for that, I don't know if we're hung up on the $6,000 or the 10%, which, would either of you feel more comfortable if it was the 10% that he requested, or is that?
Yeah, I mean, I'd be more comfortable, but.
Okay.
I'd be more comfortable just because if he's comfortable with that,
Okay.
I guess I could be.
Okay.
If it's more than that, I think maybe it should be revisited by public safety or whomever if the project is changing that much.
Okay.
The centering of the sprinkler tiles, his explanation is the plans have a note on them that say we do not have to center on the tile, but we generally show the heads in the center. So that was
more of a note to their plan, saying that it shows it centered, but that doesn't mean it necessarily will be.
You got to remember that Viking didn't draw the plans and specs.
All right.
So it says the plans have a note on them that says we do not have to be centered in the tile, but we generally show the heads in the center.
Okay.
Okay.
Kurt, I asked the same questions in finance. I thought it was a little odd for a bid to come in with exclusions of 22 of them.
Right.
But as his chief said, he was comfortable with it, so that's why I made the motion to approve.
Yeah,
After their explanation to him.
and I agree, and I, you know, on the comfortable part, if he's comfortable with 10%, I'd be more comfortable with that. The only thing I fear is that when you open it up too much, all of a sudden, that's just an invitation for overage.
We opened the opportunity we opened it up because we don't want any delays in this project. We don't want to have to wait 2 weeks or a month to come back to council. It's an important project. B, the situation is that it's an older building, you don't know what you're gonna uncover, and I understand that. I understand that with bids. And C, Jim has other uses he wants for this money. I trust that he will not overuse the leeway we've given him. I just want him to be able to do what he needs to do without having to come back. I'm confident that he probably won't even use 10% of it, but it was just a number we decided on at safety for assurance.
So we had that in the budget from what was said.
It's budgeted, there's
It
still,
was
yeah,
50,000 in the budget.
there's still more in that budget
Yeah.
specific line item. He's not using up that entire line
I
item.
think the controlling point here is that if Jim spends money on this, he's got less money for other things he needs in his department.
Right,
And
No,
if there's motivation here to be sure that the money is wisely spent.
right,
So that's why I'm not concerned with it as much.
right. That's
Because he knows
exactly what,
he knows
I
if he
told you,
overspends
wasn't
here foolishly, he's gonna be losing something else for the department.
I do have another project that needs attention, so I have a motive to control the cost.
Do we have a motion on the floor? I don't know. if we
I
do.
made a motion.
And I second it.
Okay. John, you want to weigh in?
I guess, main thing here is we're worried about not having delays, so 6,300 versus 3,300, I think is what the 10%, right? Is that what you're talking about? I'm with Rich on the fact that there's controlling interest, there's already a finite money in the budget, and I don't think we're gonna get to a point where we're gonna throw things out of whack.
Okay.
So I guess I'm okay with the motion as it stands.
Okay, anyone else?
Can
Randy?
I ask one more?
Yep.
Of
Absolutely.
the chief, just not trying to nitpick the bid apart, but one of the exclusions is overtime. So if they work overtime, we have to pay it?
Yes, but there's not, I did talk to him, there won't be any overtime. There's not a 30-day completion or whatever in the thing, so it shouldn't end up with overtime. You know what I mean? There's no time frame for.
Yeah, if they had a deadline and we.
They have 5 months to complete from the date of the contract signed. That's the only time consideration that's in there. If they bump up against the wall, that's their deal, you know what I mean, on the 5 months.
But actually, according to this, it's not their deal. It's our deal.
Right.
I sure hope it wouldn't take them 5 months to put in this project.
I agree, but as he said, if they bump up against the wall, it's not their deal, but that's wrong because it's our deal at that point.
Those are things that were outside of the specifications.
Did you happen to have any references on this, on Viking Company? Have we used them in the past?
They did, I don't know if they installed City Hall, but I know they do the annual maintenance with City Hall. Sprinkler system maintenance with City Hall. I'm not sure about the library building, but I imagine they do the library building as well.
So I guess I have one other question as well. If you were to have gone with one of the other companies, would you have still asked for a 10%?
I would have, yes.
Contingency?
Right.
Okay.
Question.
Okay. Still waiting for any questions or comments? Chief?
It's like when you do a retro or do something at home or whatever, nothing ever works out quite the way you had thought. There's always something that gets in the way or.
It's an older building.
Yeah, exactly.
And let's keep in mind that the next bid up was 38,000. I mean, and this bid is 33,000. It's not, if we were to look with any of the other companies, we, you know, it would be more than what we allocated to him with him requesting a 10%.
Okay. Still, if anybody has any other comments, or we'll allow the discussion. If not, anyone? Okay, all in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you, Chief Fry. Next, we have an application of Turning Point for victims of domestic and sexual abuse for a temporary Class B retailer's license to sell beer and wine on April 27th, 2013 at the Pottery for Prevention event, the River Room at the Phipps Center for the Arts at 109 Locust Street. Barb Peterson is here to give us some information.
I am.
Barbara?
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen of the council, Mr. Mayor, and to the city administrators, I just want to thank you so much for just giving me a moment to be able to tell you a little bit about this event. Turning Point is an agency, a 501c3 agency, where we have our shelter in River Falls, but we serve women, children, and men throughout the two counties, Pierce and St. Croix. We have a shelter there that will house 17 people, but we fully 90% of our clients do not come into shelter. They stay outside of the shelter. The Pottery for Prevention event, this is our third year, I believe. It could be the fourth, but I think it's the third year. We're growing it every year, and we're moving to the Phipps Center this year. We're asking that you approve our license to serve wine and beer at this event from 6 to 9 o'clock. It's called Pottery for Prevention. We will have pottery there. The event is specifically to raise funds for services that we provide to children. And sadly, we all know that children are very often the most affected by what goes on in domestic violence and sexual assault cases. But in any case, anything that we can give to them that night of the event is going to go to help them. So I ask that you approve this liquor license. Thank you.
Thank you, Barbara.
I'll move for approval.
Is there a second?
Second.
Discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thanks, Barbara. Item 9, accept engineering proposal for submitting the STP grant application for the Vine Street project and determine if funding source not to exceed $4,400. Nobody wants to talk, huh?
The recommendation of the Finance Committee was to utilize some carryover funds that we had from the 2012 appropriation for street maintenance for this project. Karen can explain the project, but what this would do is it would provide for an application for funding for Vine Street. And one of the things that was mentioned at the Finance Committee is that initially FOTH would try to determine whether the project or the impact to the project would be to comply with the federal regulations called Trans 75 or complete streets that require sidewalks and bike paths on both sides. But that would be the initial review, but the cost to update the feasibility study and to submit the grant application was estimated at $4,400. And I think Karen can answer any questions on the specifics.
Anyone have specific questions? One of the questions I asked at Finance again is how wide the street, how much room do we have on Vine Street to have bike lane and two sets of sidewalks on each side? And how wide does our street have to be? And I guess that's one of the things we're going to determine first, whether that fits in that particular area.
We'll determine if it fits, and if it does, how much additional money is it going to be to the construction cost?
Okay. One other thing, we talked about the funding and the timing of this. It's probably 2017 or 18.
That would be the best guess because,
Okay.
you know, right now the DOT is taking applications for a 5-year period.
Okay.
And then depending upon, as they will rank them and prioritize them, but then their funding is contingent because you're using federal funds here. So, and I'm sure, the projects that were designated right now were impacted by the sequestration, so it's hard to say what's going to happen with our federal government and those funding levels as we go forward. But at least this would reserve us a place on the list, and, potentially if it is awarded, then, obviously the council at that time will have the decision as to whether to accept those funds or to, do without and do the project on our own.
And Karen wouldn't give us any better than a 50-50, whether we get the funds or not. She wouldn't even guarantee it. I'm kidding now.
I said flip the coin.
Yep. Any other comments or thoughts or questions? Anyone have any questions for Neil or Karen? Okay.
I'll move to approve.
Okay.
Second.
Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Next item is determine funding for core testing for proposed 2013 mill and overlay projects not to exceed $12,000.
Again, the recommendation from the committee was to utilize the excess funds from the prior year street maintenance program. And not that there were a lot of excess funds. We had about $18,117 left over, of which 4,400 were recommended for the Vine Street project, and this would utilize up to 12,000 of additional funds. The intent here would be that they would do, I think Karen and Tom Zulli have determined potentially 41 locations to test to see what condition the road base is in. Then that would help in both the design of the project and also help in the bidding of the project. So, they know exactly what's underneath and how that road was built. And it would help determine whether it needs to be reconstructed or whether a mill and overlay would be sufficient at the time.
In your issue sheets, you have a place where they're going to do the testing. Karen, do you want to talk about, we may not have the capital to build those roads at the present time or resurface, but we'd have the information if we approve this, correct?
That's correct. If we get the cores done now, we can use those cores for years to come if we improve the streets at a later date.
Yes, Mary?
When does Sixth Street fall on the list? Do you know that offhand?
No, I don't. This is a list that, do you know it?
I believe we're in the process of working on, have all the projects identified and into Ellers for the 5-year capital plan. And I think Tom has 6th Street in for 2015.
Oh.
And that's concrete, is
No.
6th Street, no, it's
asphalt.
Okay.
But 2015?
Right, and it's our hope, now that Ellers has that information, to get it back and have a discussion on that. I think for finance capital projects for 2013 will be discussed at the next meeting. Okay. And then hopefully the report from Ellers, I'll try to find out and at least report at the next meeting when we can anticipate that discussion in terms of what our capital program will be kind of for the next 5 years, so that we can look at potential bonding of projects.
Okay.
Okay. Any other questions for Neil or Karen? Has there been a motion to approve? And a second? Okay. Any other discussion?
Wait a second.
No, there hasn't been a motion.
I'll move to approve.
Second.
All right. Now, is there any other discussion or any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Item 11 is consider the Afton Cruise Line proposal for a 5-year lease, 5-year fee schedule and changes in the 3/15/13 draft of the courtesy dock lease agreement. I have in front of me, one of the things that is different from the previous proposal or previous lease that we have, the fee are going from $1,100 a year to $5,000 for the first 5 years. And the next 5 years, it's a 10-year lease versus a 3-year lease. The other fee will be determined at the end of the first 5 years. Catherine, what was the wording that you wanted to add at the end?
I suggested adding at the end of paragraph 2, the last sentence, says the fee is to be reviewed for the remaining 5 years of the term of the lease, and then my recommendation is to add with the option to increase it for the remaining 5 years, just so
Okay.
it's clear that we're doing more than just reviewing it. It could possibly increase.
To increase. Okay? The other issue is we will have, there's going to be 3 boats there instead of 2. The application will have 3 boats there instead of 2. And that the boats will be bubbled, 2 of the boats will stay there in the wintertime and will be bubbled. So they will stay there year-round.
Why such a long lease? Going
I
from
think
3 to
the
10?
biggest issue there is the amount of money that's going into the new dock. As it is turned, the investment that he's making into that dock, wants a contract longer than the 3 years that he had before.
Is there any reason why we wouldn't do an open bid on this type of scenario?
We don't have any, he presently owns the dock. And I suppose if council thinks that's what we should try and do, we certainly can look to that.
I'll move for approval.
Okay,
I'll second.
now we can talk more about it.
Can I ask a question?
Yes,
I know it's not part of the lease, but where the money goes, can this be, can that be discussed, or?
I think it's just the lease that's
So we can't
under
discuss where the money goes, so
consideration.
it has to be like a following meeting? Another meeting?
I don't know how it's, yeah, if you want it discussed, I think you'd need to
okay,
put it on the next agenda.
Okay.
Where the money, the fee money
Yeah.
would be placed.
yep,
I'll put it for the
Thank you.
next agenda for finance.
Finance, sure.
Okay.
okay. Comments, questions? Mr. Jarvis is here if anyone has any questions for him.
So the application's been sent to
It's been
the-
submitted to the Corps of Engineers. Haven't heard back yet from them.
I went probably a week ago Friday. Not this past Friday, the Friday before.
How long does that take?
Oh, I wouldn't even venture a guess. Gordy, would you venture a guess?
I really like that. It could be anywhere from a month to 6 months. Is this contingent on that
Yes.
passing?
Correct.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well,
Well, I would
I mean,
imagine,
the addition of the third boat and reorienting the.
but I'm wondering, I guess, from Gordy's side, is he gonna wanna sign this if it doesn't get
I think it would
passed?
be contingent upon, I would assume that you don't want to start off with what we've got right now, or not. I mean, if the Corps is going to take 6 months, why don't you,
Mayor and members, I mean, we're entering into this agreement with the intentions that, you know, things are going to move along the way they should move along. And hopefully, everything gets approved accordingly. Meanwhile, then we would still have a lease so that we can operate the way the facility is at the present time. We know that there would be a substantial increase, even though that we wouldn't have the additional boat there. And that's just an expense that we have to take upon ourselves. So, yeah, the lease is the lease, and we just keep moving forward, and hopefully everything gets done in a proper time. We know that we couldn't get it all completed this year anyhow, because of the length of time it takes the Corps and the DNR for them to get their end of it done. On the other hand, since it's an existing operation, it's an existing situation, it might be faster than we think, but that's pretty much how we're looking at it, so that's why we want to try to get the lease accomplished now.
okay,
so even if the permit's not approved?
to make the changes, the other one has still in place.
Correct.
I mean,
I don't think that's, I mean, the other one expires
I think,
No.
before this season.
Not with the Corps of Engineers, it doesn't.
No, but the other lease is
current
not
lease.
in place.
Correct.
And there's no verbiage in the contract that addresses
Correct.
that situation.
But our agreement with the Corps of Engineers is not expiring.
No, I understand, but the
No.
question will be, what does Mr. Jarvis do if the reconfiguration of the docks and the additional boat is not approved?
The answer is that it would stay the same the way it is right now.
Yeah,
Correct.
we'd
Yes.
renegotiate, you'd have to renegotiate the lease.
so he's basically saying he'll pay the 5,000, assuming everything is going for this year, and then if it,
If it doesn't, then we'll come back and renegotiate the lease
well,
because
there's
the
just portions of.
condition failed.
I'm sorry.
Well, no, I don't think we'll renegotiate the lease, we'll renegotiate portions of it.
Correct, that
Okay.
apply to the third boat and
Correct.
reconfiguring the docks.
Mr. Jarvis, does that make sense to you?
Yeah, and the way I sort of view that is, I really wouldn't be concerned because of the third boat issue and the money that we're talking about. I think I'm concerned about the bigger picture overall, is to get the term of the lease so that we continue to keep doing the improvements and what we need to make the facility operate properly. So the third boat, if it comes, it comes. If it doesn't, it's not the breaker, I would say.
Oh.
I'm not sure if I'd even come back to the city and say, hey, look, we need to renegotiate this.
Okay.
That's how I sort of view it, to be honest with you.
Okay.
Questions?
I've heard some people ask how are we going to accommodate the extra parking needed for the extra boats?
That was why I wanted to discuss where the money went, but we have to discuss that next time.
Okay.
I think the issue that,
I
Mr.
mean, clearly you're
Jarvis-
going to have more people,
Sure.
obviously.
I think the issue that comes in, roughly last year, 50% of the larger boat came in on motor coaches. There will be, the third boat is a
It's 25 passenger.
25 passenger boat.
Yeah, it's a smaller one. So
So,
the increase and the impact would be pretty minimal, to be honest with you.
okay. Any other questions? Okay. We have a motion to approve, I believe, and a second from, yep. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Okay, item 12, determine funding for a change order on number 1, the amount of the $3,990 for the Lake Malibu Storm Sewer Outfall Improvement Project. Neil?
There were certain change orders that were identified as a part of this project. The recommendation from the committee was that we utilize funds in the from the stormwater utility for this change order.
Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Questions? Comments? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Item 9, consider denial of request for 2 15-minute parking spaces on Locust Street.
You want me to take this one?
Yeah, absolutely, public safety.
I didn't know why it was, well, Rich and I were at Public Safety, and the denial was a kind of a two-part denial. One was requests come in all the time for 15-minute parking spots, and we can just, flood the whole downtown with that if we want, and we decided that that's not something that we want to continue doing if it's not an absolute necessity. And Rich made a very good point that when Freestyle Yogurt came into downtown, they understood the downtown situation and how the parking is, and so it was a decision that we made. We said no as a committee the month before to 2 other businesses on Locust Street as well, so it was
Is
a little
Mr.
bit.
Brandner here tonight?
I don't think so, I didn't see him.
Okay.
I think to add to Mary's, within a 1-block area between 2nd Street, Walnut, and Locust, there are 4 10-minute parking spots,
Okay.
2 15-minute loading spots, and directly across the street from this business are 2 15-minute spots.
Yes.
So basically, there are 2 15-minute spots available for this, and parking in downtown is at a premium.
Yeah.
There is a cost associated with it, and that's the cost of lost revenue from the meters. If you look at the 8 meters that we've got now and assume you're spending, or assume you're getting $2,500 per meter, there's $20,000 of revenue already lost in the spots that we have, and we're just going to add another 5,000 loss if we do this.
Especially Locust Street is one of our busiest, it is, I think, our busiest besides the Phipps lot.
And it's really not fair to some of the other business owners, such as maybe the sports club or Du Bois Pizza, the cigar shop, Olive and Vine, where their customers take more than 15 minutes, and they're looking for spots so that they can be there for an hour or more. And so, do you want to hurt your other businesses? And I don't think we do.
Okay.
We thought deeply about this.
Okay, sounds like it. Is there a motion?
I move to approve the denial.
Second.
All right, questions? All right. All in favor of the denial? Signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Park Board, item 2, review the costs and site for relocating the shed at the former Tourist Information Center shed to Grandview Park. Anybody here at Park Board?
Yep.
is
Yep.
that shed?
It's a
It's, I believe
picnic
it's,
shed, isn't it?
18 by 24.
no, that's the shelter at
Okay.
Prospect.
Okay.
This is an actual garage, 18 by 24, you said?
That's what it says here, yeah.
Yep.
Okay, sorry.
So it's a two-car garage.
Where are we putting it, Grandview Park?
Sounds like there's a slab there already. I understand.
Well, option 1 is what was proposed originally, where the first tack is, on the west side of those trees.
Okay.
And we proposed that Tom talk to the water department to utilize the end of that driveway. It's almost pre-made for it, so rather than put it, we figure, you know, this whole open area could be used someday, whereas the asphalt is already in by the water tower, so. So I know that Tom has not, you know, worked far enough along with the water department at this point to determine if that's gonna work, but our recommendation was approval either way, whether it had to be on the east side of those spruce trees or the west.
I'm just a little confused. I have two things here. One says Grandview Park and the other one says Prospect.
Prospect, that's,
Prospect was on a consent agenda.
Yeah.
That was the
Prospect was the
shelter.
shelter.
Ah, okay, good, thank you.
Is this a piece of junk? I mean, how old is this garage, and we're gonna save
You
any
can see it when you drive
money?
by.
I don't know how old it is, but Tom has inspected it. I haven't personally inspected it, but Tom feels that it's worth everything that we'd put into it, so.
We took a shelter from there to put at the Meadows Park, and all of them, all of those, all of the shed and the shelters seemed pretty stable.
I just look at it, and right or wrong, it's state-built. It was owned by the state at one point. I'm willing to bet it was done pretty well.
They'll repaint it and stuff, knowing them.
Yeah, upon Tom's inspection.
No. How much money is in the, does anybody know, Neil, do you know how much is in the Grandview Park concession funds?
Currently, there's $2,526, but that does not include any, anticipated revenues from concessions. Last year, those totaled $1,100.
Okay.
So you'd be at around $3,600. I think the other opportunity in the park dedication fees, we have a general donations account that has a little bit under $1,500. So between the two, we could cover the cost.
Okay. Other questions? Has there been a motion? I don't think there has been, has there? Does anyone like to make a motion to approve this or not to approve it?
I'll move to approve this motion.
Okay. Is there a second?
I'll second.
So the motion,
Comments?
the motion is for up to $3,000.
There's 3,000 for the.
Not to exceed.
For the slab.
$1,600 cost, so it's 4,600.
4,600 total.
So it's 4,600 total.
We have 3,000 for the,
For the
Shed,
relocation.
yeah.
For the slab, and 1,600 is to move it.
And you don't think we could build something less for $4,600 and have a pin in the, to haul it over there or what?
I don't think for 4,600. I mean, I'm not saying that it's gonna be triple it. I don't know
I'm just
exact.
I'm just
Right.
But if we don't need the concrete slab, it's only $1,600. If we go to option 2, correct?
Unless they would want to put it on a slab.
No, no, option.
They're gonna put a slab on top of
Regardless,
the
it's gonna
concrete?
get us. No, the slab would go at the end of that asphalt. Why I said it was almost built for it, because it would be like putting it at the end of your driveway. The slab's gonna have to go in regardless.
Either way, right?
Yeah.
Well, I thought you said there was a slab at.
That's what I understood too.
I-
I suppose it's not
I'm-
wide enough?
No, the driveway is already
Yeah,
in.
it's not wide enough.
So option one would need more pavement, otherwise it'd just be a slab in out the middle of the yard there.
Without,
Yeah.
without a driveway. And I don't think Tom is overly concerned. They're not gonna be parking trucks in it. It's gonna be
For equipment for the ball field.
for the equipment for the ball fields, exactly.
For the softball fields?
Correct.
And for boosters, or?
I think it's for city property. I don't know if the boosters are going in there or not.
No, I
That would
think
be
Tom,
primarily used for field maintenance.
Okay.
I think he wants to have it at a
Like
secured
what?
level such that it's
And we
in
don't
the
have to
city.
bring the
Then
equipment.
they're not hauling it. I
Hauling
think
it
is-
from
is what the
downtown.
issue sheet indicates.
Like the mowers and stuff, or?
Four-wheeler
mowers,
that
the
does the
draggers, the-
dragging.
What if they're gonna maintain the softball fields, though? They're gonna use our stuff, or they're gonna use their own stuff?
No, well, that's a whole nother discussion, but,
I thought that's
That
what we
would-
talked about last meeting, that they would maintain.
right, and Tom's made it clear that that would be their own stuff. He's not gonna have them,
So then if they're maintaining it, let's just say hypothetically, what's gonna go in that shed?
well, we asked Tom the same thing, and he made it sound like he will not have a problem finding equipment to put in it, whether it's a mowers or.
Snow blowers or whatever.
Right.
Well, all I can say with Tom is he shares his space with the rest of the city very willingly, so I don't doubt that he might need some space too, so.
Do we need to make this contingent upon approval by the water utility?
Yes.
I would think so, yes.
Well, that would be option two, because option one, which was his initial proposal,
Is on our property.
It's
or
on our
park property.
yeah, park property.
I would say you'd
correct.
want to make a decision on where, and then if it is option two, then it would have to be contingent on utility.
Didn't you say the park board recommended either
Yep.
location?
Yes, that's exactly right. The park board prefers number two, but that would be
Yeah.
contingent upon. And that's purely because the asphalt driveway is in. And it wouldn't take up open green space.
Do we have a motion already?
No.
Yeah, we have a
Oh,
motion.
to
To
approve.
approve the
Yes,
park
second.
board recommendation.
Okay.
But that does not, are we gonna, so if you're approving it the way park board says, then it's up to Tom to determine where it goes.
Right, so he would check with water utility first,
Yep.
according to the direction of the park board.
Is that okay with everyone, as far as the motion? Okay,
That's fine.
all right. Any discussion on the motion before we vote on it? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you, motion carries. Next item on the agenda, discussion and possible actions to rescind portion of the motion adopted by the council at its meeting on September 17th, 2012, related to storing dinghies on the Dike Road, and stated that dinghies would, not be tied to the Dike Road in the future, and to have the park board find an alternative solution to the problem over the winter. Catherine, do you want to just make a comment on
Sure.
that so that we can, it ties into item B also?
Yeah, that last part is the portion, starting from relating to storing dinghies on the Dike Road, the part that stated they would not be tied on the Dike Road in the future, and that the park board would review it over the winter. That's the portion of the September 17th, 2012 motion that may be subject to a motion to rescind. If you recall at the last meeting, it ended with not being able to deal with the storage of the dinghy issue. And in order to get beyond that, Robert's rules allow for a motion to rescind any previous motion of the council or any portion thereof. And at the last meeting, some council members expressed that in the interim between September and March and further review of this dinghy storage issue, they were now possibly open to storage of the dinghies on the Dike Road. Others stated they were not. So the way to bring it back and get it under discussion for possible solutions is to at least have a motion and a second to rescind that portion of the September 2012 motion. What that would do, it would eliminate that verbiage from the motion so that the council could discuss, among other solutions, storing dinghies on the Dyke Road. There was objection last time to discussing that because it had already been dealt with in the September motion. The reason the second part of the agenda, if the motion to rescind is adopted, approved by the council, it takes a majority vote, then the next item on the agenda is discussion of possible solutions. At the last meeting, other people identified other solutions that had been discussed and that could be discussed again, and so it was put on the agenda generally to discuss other solutions, which would include storage on the Dyke Road as one possible solution, as Public Safety Committee has presented it.
Public Works.
Or Public Works, right. So that's where we're at. It effectively eliminates the latter two phrases of the earlier motion, and it would allow the council then to discuss dinghy storage solutions. If it fails, then that stands, that September motion stands as adopted back in September.
So you're suggesting we can't act on the recommendation from Public Works until we rescind the language that was passed on September 17th? Is that what I'm hearing?
Well, that's formally at the last committee, or at the last council meeting. Council members identified that motion, hey, this is not properly before the council because that decision was made back in September, and identified that motion as the basis for not being able to discuss storage of dinghies on the Dyke Road.
But
at that point, because there wasn't a noticed motion to rescind, the way to bring it back was a motion to reconsider. That motion failed.
So
oh no, it's a motion to suspend the rules because
failed.
the time for a motion to reconsider had passed.
Right, so it's a point of order on parliamentary procedure as far as that's concerned. But in your memo, I just want to get some clarification that you're saying even if we don't rescind the September 17th meeting, we can still discuss options on notice agenda B. No.
Yes, you can. Well, no. Hold on. Let me. The proposal to store dinghies on the Dyke Road will be not able to be discussed. Other solutions can be discussed. If the September motion stands unchanged, unrescinded, then that option for storing dinghies on the Dyke Road is in effect and hasn't been rescinded. That would mean the council is satisfied with that, does not want to consider storage of dinghies on the Dyke Road. But it does allow, as you pointed out, discussion of other solutions.
I move to rescind.
I'll second.
Okay. I think we should, well, I'll let anybody have comments. Anybody have, what we're doing is allowing us to just make discussions and about that. So.
May I?
Go ahead.
The only thing I was going to say is that, you know, we did everything that we said we were going to do in that motion. The dinghies came off the Dyke Road. Park Board looked at solutions. They looked at solutions off of the Dyke Road. We found them to not be economically very feasible, and some weren't, you know, agreeable to the mooring holders. I feel like we did all those things, and now we have to allow the discussion to be held. Okay, what do we do next? How do we resolve it? So.
And we have everyone here.
Except Tom, but yeah.
Well.
So when we rescind, we're just rescinding storage of the dinghies on the Dyke Road.
I made the motion simply because I want to be able to discuss all options.
Okay, and I just want to clarify that. Are we opening up ourselves to private property on public land when we rescind this? Is that part of the
No, what you're rescinding is the portion of the motion that
Just the dinghies on the Dike Road.
Correct.
precluded storing dinghies on the Dike Road in the future. The entire motion said three things. One, remove the dinghies by November. Number two, and not to tie them up on the Dike Road in the future. And number three, have the park board review alternate solutions over the winter.
Okay, so we haven't given up the private property on public
No.
land. That still holds.
Well, no, because that just.
Well,
means-
to a certain extent, the dinghies will be owned privately, but
It's a separate issue.
It's
what-
a separate,
yeah,
okay,
it's-
that's all I want to be sure is that
Correct.
we haven't taken away that part of our ordinance.
Oh, no, you're not changing an ordinance. What the ordinance provides for is no parking of boats without council permission. This would allow you to discuss storing dinghies used in connection with the mooring area only in the locations provided by the city on the Dike Road as one solution.
Okay.
Now, are we somewhat clear, everyone?
I have better
I think we're clear.
understanding right now.
You feel a little better now?
I have a better understanding, yes.
Randy, Lori, anybody? Kurt? Okay.
I mean, it's largely procedural.
Yeah, it's
Right.
just to bring it back so that you can discuss all solutions, including the solution presented by the Public Works Committee.
All right, all in favor of rescinding the motion, not rescinding the motion. All in favor of the motion, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, motion carries. Now we go to item B, discussion and possible actions on solutions for storage of dinghies used in connection with the city-operated boat mooring area. Comments?
Can I speak since it came out of Public Works?
Sure.
And Tom is not able to be here tonight. This is essentially the same idea that came forth at our last meeting that we were not able to discuss. It has gone through Park Board. There was agreement there. It was one of the options they discussed. It was the least expensive option. It's the mooring permit holders have looked at it. For the most part, it's something that's agreeable to them. It addresses the issue of cleaning up the Dike Road, which is, I think, where this got started. So we're looking at uniform dinghy size and color with basically 5 areas that are cordoned off, and there'll be designated spots for the dinghies. As it is right now, the dinghies have a sticker on them that corresponds to a specific sailboat. So that'll remain the same. You know, I think we'll need to tidy up some of the language in our ordinances and in the lease agreement itself, just identifying the ability for permit holders to have dinghies and describing the specifics of them.
No one's required.
No one's required, thank you, no one's required to have one. The city would be held harmless if there's any issues, you know, with someone falling. So, I mean, I think that's the gist of it. It seems like it's had the most overall approval and is the least expensive option we've seen, and it's the one we would like to bring forward.
Okay. Does anyone?
I just want to clarify, I voted in favor of this proposal on the premise that either Lori or Kurt would reconsider bringing back a quality conversation on allowing the First Street or Front Street or anywhere else to have a permittable conversation with this full council. I had asked them that to bring it back up, or I would, and that I would support the motion that came out of Public Works. By no means does it mean that I still support this motion, whether or not it comes out or not. I think there was some misinformation from that was said about why I supported all of a sudden. So I want to make that very clear. If I haven't, let me restate it.
Okay.
I support it only if this comes out and we can have as a full council, a good conversation with different representation on how we can become First Street or any other place that has private property on public land. And that we do so with the same premise of allowing people, the Moors, anybody else who's got property on public land, an option to lease.
Okay.
All I'm asking for is a good quality conversation. I'm not asking for a yes or no vote on it, unless we get to that point.
Okay. Anyone else?
Can I speak why I
Sure.
made the motion to rescind? I made the motion to rescind. The Public Works Committee, it's a good option, but I do still believe that the Jarvis option of having the boats, having the dinghies on the Jarvis dock, once it's built, would be the best option for the city and for the dinghy holders as far as safety concerns go there, and the fact that there is a gate and many other reasons that it's guarded. So my preferred way of handling this would be that we would have the Jarvis dock be the first option, and if the Corps of Engineers fails to give him the dock, then we would go to what I think is then our last possible solution, which is back on the dinghies, or back on the Dyke Road, excuse me. So the reason why I voted to rescind is because if all of our other options are exhausted, then we need to look at the Dyke Road again. But I don't feel all options have been exhausted. And I feel that the Jarvis dock situation would be the most ideal option.
Okay. Anyone else?
Well, I think we've heard it loud and clear, and I guess I can say that because I'm on Park and I'm on Public Works where it has been already. We've heard loud and clear that that's not, dare I go as far as to say acceptable to some moorers. Would it be acceptable to some? Probably. But if we're gonna go through this large investment, we need to know that it's gonna be used. And we've heard loud and clear that that is just too far in the river conditions for some to travel. So I don't think it would be used to the extent that we would need it to be used to pay for it.
Mr. Jarvis did say in earlier discussions that he didn't think the dock would be ready this summer, very likely. And he is not planning at this point for the dinghies to be there in any.
His thing says small, 3 excursion boats and possibly small tenders. So I don't think he's ruled it out.
Well, I think it's in the application to the court. I believe it.
Right.
That was the agreement that, or the discussion
Sure.
that we had with Tom was to keep it in there.
Correct.
Yep, and he's had an agreement in the past with a couple of the mooring holders.
Sure.
But I asked him, specifically, are you planning for a large-scale storage? And he said no. We're at the point now where we really need a solution for this summer. And I want to clarify one thing, because we keep talking about private land on public property. And I just want to clarify, what we did last fall is we enforced an ordinance that's currently on our books. No person shall construct or maintain a pier or dock extending from the shoreline of any public area unless given specific authority by the Common Council. We chose to enforce that, right?
Right.
And now what we're talking about is a different portion of the ordinance that says no boat shall be confined to lakefront seawall or parked on the shore of Lakefront Park or any adjoining city land for a period in excess of 4 hours unless you have permission of the chief of police or the director of public works. So that's the portion. I keep hearing public on private. People lease, they lease portions of our parks all the time. This is another lease agreement that we have. And so, if I read this, it looks to me like the director of parks and public works actually has some say about this particular portion of the ordinance, but I'd like to formalize it.
Yeah, the idea was to formalize it in the mooring policy so
Right.
that it'd be clear and there would be a system and everyone would understand what the storage plan was.
I appreciate that, and they are two separate issues. I still believe they're two separate issues. And I believe what Randy was saying, that he would like us to consider taking a look at that particular issue at a different time, not in conjunction with this particular issue.
No.
Is that fair? Yeah. That what you said? Okay. So maybe we either all agree that they are separate. Maybe you don't have to agree with that, but I think you gave us a good point there that it's a separate issue. I believe it's a separate issue. Yes?
I agree it's a separate issue, but there's one thing in both ordinances that's a common statement, and that's given permission.
Correct.
And I believe my frustration, and I am not tying the two, but the two things that are together is that we could give permission. We could have given permission back when the dock owners had their docks, just like we can give permission now.
Okay. Let's not get back to
I don't want to go back to that. I'm just saying that those are two.
We'll put that on another agenda, and we'll talk
reasons,
about it,
yes.
okay? But
Kurt, your overall impression of the mooring as a park board member, with this idea coming, is that something they really want? I don't see any mention really. about
Is it
stairs.
first choice? Probably not, because the stairs ultimately.
When
But
this first came up, majority of this council approved of stairs.
well, we were in the process. We were in the process of that, and we never approved it that I could find.
Okay.
So
when I first came on, it was
Yep.
bouncing back and forth. I know
Sure.
that.
Well, when we were about to approve it, they changed their mind on what type of stairs they wanted.
So back to my original question, your overall impression of the moor is that this is acceptable? Or is this the best they think they can get, so that's it?
This is acceptable. You know, they've done it for years. They've walked across the rocks for years. Of course, you know, to have a nice set of stairs would be, who wouldn't like that better? But this is acceptable.
But not every moorer can walk across the rocks, and that's why some of them are docking at the Jarvis docks already, because not everybody is capable of walking across the rocks.
Well, there's never been
So-
a dock with dinghy storage on it where people that can't walk as good or climb as good can. I realize there's a distance issue here, and I've personally talked to many of the mooring holders myself. You know, I'm not saying it's possible this year even, but the dock scenario is, frankly, it's a way better scenario from a safety standpoint, a security standpoint. It limits our liability because we don't have to worry about these stairs and all this property. I know that we're gonna try to put a hold harmless in there, but, you know, from when you go different places that have sailing and mooring and things like that, that's just a way cleaner strategy, frankly. But having people climbing up and down the rocks, you know, it's always been clunky, and they'll admit it themselves. I've had people that I know that used to walk down and put their boat in and paddle all the way from down by our end of the bay there just to get to their docks using canoes and stuff. So distance can be an issue, but what's a little more functional? The city doesn't have to outlay any cash for the dock issue from a financial standpoint, nor do we have to maintain it. So, you know.
And it's just as much optional as a dinghy issue. You don't have to have dinghies on the dock, just like they don't have to have dinghies on the dike.
I know the strategy is also functional, and you put stairs in, and even if you have racks on the side or things, you know, it's still gonna work. You know, the trick now is, of course, we're getting late into the season, the snow is actually melting, so eventually boating will be occurring.
So, I mean, part of the goal when this whole issue came up, and I asked at Public Works, and I asked Tom how it got started or where it came from, were there complaints from the public, and that's not clear. But the issue that came up was we wanted to clean up the Dike Road. I think this accomplishes that. I think it satisfies the mooring holders. Cost-wise, it seems to be the best option. It's not to say other things can't be revisited in the future. But the goal was to clean that up, and I think this will certainly do that. We are asking the permit holders to go get a new dinghy in most cases. It's not, you know, back to, we are asking some things of them, so.
So it sounds to me like we have three options. One is do nothing. Two is to put the dinghies not in any preference order, okay? put the dinghies like the proposal that Park Board came, or number 3, Mary's proposal was to put them on the dock, and if it can't be on the dock, it would go back to the.
Yeah.
Is that the 3 that everybody else heard too, or what we think our option, or is there a 4th one that somebody?
Well, I don't want to complicate this any, but
Oh,
is there a
gosh, here we go.
possibility? Is there a possibility to make a combination of these two, satisfy safety issues? Can we put the ones that are 1,400 feet away, or whatever that number might be, whether it be 10 dinghies or 12 dinghies or whatever it is that distance on the dike with the posts, and then execute the Jarvis dock area for the rest of the people in the mooring area. That way we satisfy the safety issue and we don't totally wreck the dikes.
I think the difficulty with that, because I believe if they're on the docks, there'd be a cost to those people, correct? Because they'd be paying Jarvis for the, that would be the difference
Yeah.
between the.
I would propose that we set a fee for whatever that fee is, that all of the mooring holders would pay that fee, whatever that fee would be, until such time as the dock was paid for, and so that everybody would share in that, but we've addressed all the issues.
So who gets the dike road ones and who gets the dock?
The dike road ones would be the ones farthest from the Jarvis dock.
Is that already predetermined? I guess.
The one that's 1,400 feet.
Can I just say, we don't have any agreement from him whatsoever for this summer. We just have to face the reality of that.
Well, and the other problem is it's not going to be executable this year either, so we've got a problem for the year of 2013, but
we could.
The long-term solution to me seems that it takes care of everybody's wishes and satisfies the safety issue of climbing up and down rocks for the majority of the people. And then if we had to, at a later date, put in a step, it would only be one area and it would be very limited if we went that far.
But still, who are these predetermined slots?
Yeah,
I mean, that's my.
Apparently they are.
Well, I mean, because obviously, whoever 1,400 feet away is having an issue versus the person who's closest. So are they predetermined? Are they?
Or option 5, you could offer it to, well, again, kind of following his thing, if you're going that way, you offer it to the dock, to whoever, and then the ones that say it's too far, I don't know, say it's too far, then, but, I mean, then it's just
I was
complicating
actually
it
thinking
more.
the same thing, but I think the reality is, we don't have the dock as an option right now. I mean, Gordy's not planning
It's
at this point to build that dock.
Is it or is it not in the plans that went to the Corps of Engineers?
It is.
Okay, then.
But he talked
well,
about when it would be completed.
Right, so
And he
then
said
we
it
gotta
could be this
consider
fall.
something, so then you consider leniency for this year until it's completed. I mean, it's.
Does anyone here remember the discussion that we had with, and when we heard from the mooring permit holders? Most of them are not interested in that option. They're not interested in the option, they're concerned about the cost. I'm gonna just make a motion. You know, we can bring up in the future, if the dock gets extended and there's problems with this particular proposal, we can always look at that option of some of the dinghies moving there. But in the absence of that dock being there, we need to have a solution for this summer. So I'm gonna make a motion that we approve the recommendation that came out of the Public Works Committee.
Okay,
I'll second that.
we have a motion and a second.
Rich, I like your idea. That sounds reasonable.
Okay,
And if you could work it into that, I'd be agreeable with that.
I would too, but I also would be willing to give lenience for this summer if that can't happen, and we would go with the Jarvis dock when it's built. So.
This
I think
motion.
yeah, there's a motion,
Well, we're
but we're still
discussing-
discussing. I don't think I think I want more input, but we're talking about for this summer, our
Yep.
option is probably on the Dike Road. Would that be, no, you don't think that?
No, that's not what
Okay.
our motion is. Our
Oh,
motion is.
it
Well, my
is the
motion is to approve this
Approve it.
recommendation.
That is recommended
You know,
by
it
Public
doesn't,
Works.
it doesn't forbid any further discussion. It just says, this is what we are doing.
Yep.
There's no dock to tie, for them to tie onto right now.
I think the issue comes in is that, I think Mr. Jarvis would help us, and he would be, but I don't know when that dock will be built, if it will be built this year. So I think that's the problem that we have. And so we have a motion on the, and I think, Mary, your first thing or comment today was if we can't do this, then we should go back to the.
Right, that was my comment, but I'm also saying that I'd like to see something set in place now for future, and I often find it interesting that we have intentions of changing something down the line, but we never get around to it.
Okay.
So my proposal would be, because we know that the dock's not gonna be built this year, would be that we'd be lenient this year, but I would support a motion that would eventually have them on the Jarvis dock, but not a motion that doesn't have that in there.
Okay.
That's all I'm saying.
Okay. Anybody else?
I just want to reiterate the fact that the vast majority of the moorers aren't interested in it, in the
They have that option.
just for a safety issue. You know.
For a what? A safety issue? Climbing down rocks is not that's a tough deal. I think that's, in my opinion, a heck of a lot more risky for us than rowing out into your sailboat. So, and you know, we do need to take them into consideration, but it's our decision that we need to make and what's in the best interest of the city and what makes sense for us and the mooring holders. So that's just my 2 cents. I probably shouldn't have.
So, I mean, I don't know how we can make a motion to put anything on the Jarvis dock when he's not
It can be
agreed to it.
contingent. If the dock, if he agrees upon it and the dock exists, it can be contingent. If that fails, what I said, if it fails, then we go to the dinghies on the Dyke Road. I mean, the solution is there, it's just.
Okay, but we have a motion on the table to put them on the, and again, we can look at other options next year, or if Jarvis comes and says, I can get this dock built in 30 days, I don't know. I don't think that's reasonable.
No, it's not.
Okay. So are we down to 2 options for this year? Do nothing, or on the road? Okay, you disagree with me, okay.
The option for this year would obviously have to be the dinghies on the Dyke Road, because
Okay.
there's no other option for this year. That's not, I don't know how I'm trying not to be misunderstood here, but maybe I am. I would just like to see a proposal in place where, contingent upon the Jarvis dock being built, that the dinghies would go there. And I understand what you're saying, Kurt. I don't agree with it, is all I'm saying, is that I think that it's safer to be docked by the Jarvis, docked at the Jarvis dock if it's built, if he agrees to do it, so on and so forth. It can be it can be contingent upon
Well, maybe
it.
it should be, look into discussing with Mr. Jarvis storing the
Well, then we're just
dikes.
gonna delay this again, and I'd rather
Well, not
just-
delay it, but, I mean, it's hard to make it conditional on something that has so many variables. So you can certainly look into it, but there's just nothing there because it hasn't been discussed with Mr. Jarvis. at
We
this
have
point.
discussed it with Mr. Jarvis, though. I mean, we have talked to him about it. He said, I could accommodate this if we need to accommodate. So we have had that discussion. Again, how he gets it, when the timing, we're really late in the year. And I think what he said tonight is, you know, when this gets done, could be 6 months before we get approval, it could be 2 months. And then he has to get the dock built, and we're already in April.
But tonight, he wasn't referring to the
No,
dock with
no.
dinghy slips.
No, but we.
So the question is whether, is that really, it's in our permit so that if it comes up as a solution,
Correct.
we have already gotten the permit, but I don't,
And he has told us, tell me if, that he would be willing to accommodate the best he can with this proposal.
And he submitted
oh,
plans.
okay, I wasn't
with
part
it
of
in.
the.
No.
But he didn't say it tonight.
No,
and I
he
He did submit the plans with it in preparation that it could possibly happen. So to me, that is assumed that he would accept
And
that
at Public
concept.
Works, his representative reiterated that fact.
Okay.
And we have record of quite a few mooring holders saying they don't like it. So we need, quite honestly, we need a solution for the summer because our Public Works Department is trying to get the program in place. We really can't toss more ideas around. We can in the future, but not for this summer.
I think you're right. I think we're up against the clock, and again, I think we're down to 2 options for this summer.
So is the motion just for 2013 then?
The motion is to accept the option that was brought forward by Public Works.
I just have a problem. If we don't think that's the final solution, I don't want to spend money on it. And I think it was $15,000 or something like that?
I think it was
$12,000. If that's not going to be the final solution, I don't think we should be putting money to it.
Right.
I think we need a 2013 solution. And where I sit right now is it's going to be just let it be the way it was for 2013. And let's get something done for 2014 because I don't think we're going to be able to implement what we want for 2013.
So you're saying, so what is 2013? What
2013 will be the same as 2012. We're going to just let them put their boats on the dike and let it be that way. That's the way it's been until we find a solution which I think is workable and permanent. I don't want to rush into a solution just to have a solution.
So we're back to winches on trees and rainbow-colored canoes and the problem that we,
That's
that got
why I
us here.
wanted to put the Jarvis contingency in. My motion would have been slightly different than what I'm saying, but you have a motion on the floor, so I'm waiting to see the outcome of the vote, and if I can make a motion, I will, and if I can't, I can't.
So I guess if this gets voted down, what?
I have a
Well,
motion I'd
someone
like to
can make
make.
another motion if they want to incorporate
Sounds like Rich has got
pursuing
one.
the Jarvis Dock solution after 2013.
My motion would put the Public Works motion in play if Jarvis doesn't work, so it wouldn't be dinghies, different colored dinghies and stuff. It would
Doesn't
still-
work according to who, can I ask?
If the Army Corps of Engineers denies the dock,
Okay.
period.
I guess it's being ignored that the moorers feel it doesn't work.
Not every moorer feels it doesn't work, because moorers are already going out to the Jarvis dock to dock their boats.
One is.
Well,
No, we're not asking for public comment at this time. Thank you.
I mean, sitting through Park Board for the winter, hearing it from multiple, have I heard from every one of them? Absolutely not. But everything I've heard is that it doesn't work. I agree, we need a solution, but we need a solution that's going to get used.
The question I have, Kurt, the reason it doesn't work, is it because of health issues and unable to row that far, or from a safety standpoint, to me, from the boat where the boat is, doesn't seem to me to be a large, personally, watching how far they would go, it's a long way, but I don't see boats, big boats going through there. It's a no-wake zone.
No, it's purely, from what I've heard in the discussions, and I'm a boater myself,
Yep.
it gets crazy windy down there.
Okay.
And if you're in a flat bottom, because these aren't deep V boats.
Right.
These are flat bottom, flat sides, and that wind catches you, you're not going anywhere.
Okay.
If you're trying to row into it.
Okay.
And there's pretty big whitecaps down there. All the time? Absolutely not, but.
Okay.
And I'd like to add, I think the cleanest fix would be on the Jarvis dock. But if it's not gonna get used, it's not a solution.
Okay. Anybody, are we ready to take a vote?
Mhm.
Anybody want to add anything else? Okay.
I think the Jarvis dock is a safer issue. It's a safer proposal than climbing up and down rocks. I think it's a safer proposal.
Okay.
Probably want to do a roll call, because you're going to have a split vote.
I don't know if we're going to have a split vote
Maybe
or
not,
not.
okay, fine. Could be wrong, sorry.
Okay, let's have a roll call vote then. All in favor of the motion?
Bernard?
Yes.
Morset?
Yes.
Yakub?
no.
Haggett?
No.
Vanslo?
No.
T-Winkle?
Yes.
I bet it's 3-3, isn't it? I'll vote yes. Okay. I don't think we have.
That's it.
Huh?
I think that's it.
Okay. City attorney, any alderperson have any communication?
I did ask for conversations about our garbage disposal. That was not put back on the agenda.
It's Public Works, goes to Public Works, wasn't that?
Was that what it was? Because I
Yeah.
know River Falls had the same issue.
Yep.
So you
But I
want to
think
put
it
it
should
on
go to-
Public Works?
I believe that's where it goes.
Okay.
I don't know, did it go there?
That's where the original contract would have come out of Public Works Committee, so we'll put it on for your
Yep.
April meeting, right?
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you. Anything else from any other alderperson? City attorney? City administrator?
Two real quick things. Election, a week from today, or a week from tomorrow. Still the regular polling places. So there's no changes yet. This will be the last election for districts 2 and 6 out at the Government Center. Nancy and I have been working on alternate solutions, and once the election's over here, we'll hopefully formalize something somewhere. You can absentee vote in person through this Friday. However, City Hall is closed Friday. I shouldn't say that. There'll be no other City Hall staff available because it is a dictate. Technically, we're supposed to be closed, but we have to be open for absentee voters. So Nancy and I will be here on Friday, but that'll be the only services available on Friday. So City Hall will be open for that till 5 p.m. One quick reminder, with spring hopefully on its way and with more pedestrians out there, just a reminder that if there are pedestrians in the crosswalk, you need to yield to them. We had a city staff member that was hit outside with a vehicle this morning on her way into work and was injured because she was in the crosswalk and someone came around the corner and clipped her and took off. So just a reminder, you know, I know the crosswalks aren't always the clearest, but if there's someone in the street crossing, you know, let them cross in the crosswalk and get across the street. So I just wanted to mention that because I know the walkers will be out a lot more now that spring is here. So thank
Okay.
you.
Is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
We're adjourned. Thank you.